Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sammy Ketchum, and welcome back to Sammy Ketchum TCG. Today I'm going to be bringing you a video of Unified Minds, a Pikarom list. This Pikarom list is a revised list from the one I showed you before. The list I showed you before was basically my first list. The list that I first basically kind of started out with using and testing with, in my Unified Minds testing for worlds and things like that. This new list is much more refined. It's a lot better. It has mostly the same stuff in it, except with more of a twist, per se. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely better suited to playing worlds than the one before. So, I'm gonna show you this list. I'm gonna show you the changes that I made to it. And how my testing has been going so far, and why I think this is one of the best plays for World / DC Opens. Well, let's jump into it. Right there we go. Right. We're gonna start off with 2 Pikaroms. Pikachu and Zekrom GX. Before, in my list before, I had 3 Pikaroms in here. The reason why I went with 2 is because Pikarom isn't as needed in the deck as he was before. When the format changed. So basically, what you really want to do with him now is you basically just want to use Full Blitz, and Full Blitz either onto another Pikarom or onto a Raichu and Raichu GX, which is basically what he's going to be used for now. I mean, also his Tag Bolt GX attack isn't going to be used that much because people are taking in Mew, and even if people aren't taking in Mew, Raichu and Raichu's GX attack, most of the time is actually better to basically KO a tag team. But other than that, Pikarom is still a great attacker in this deck. Still one of the main bosses for this deck. It's very fast. It's very good. Especially with the combos in this deck. Alright, there. Let's turn that over. Let's do that. There we go. Next we have ourselves 2 copies of Alolan Raichu and Raichu GX, better known as Choo Choo. His first attack, Tandem Shock. It does 80 damage, and if you bring him from the bench this turn, he does 160 and he paralyzes. This is very, very good in this format because there's not a lot of switching options to switch your Pokemon out. The only way you really get out of it is with either healing or evolving or having a switch or something. So paralyzation is really, really good right now. Unless you have a Jirachi and have a skateboard. Which can basically get around this Tandem Shock attack. Also, his GX attack is very good. It does 150. And if you have 2 extra energies attached to him, it does 100 more damage. So that's 250. If you add an electro power to that, that is 280. So that basically one-shots most of the tag teams. You're hitting Mew Mew. You're hitting Giratina Garchomp. You know, you're hitting Reshizard with that. You know, that is very, very, that is a really good play for you to go into with that GX attack. You know, so I mean, he is basically your combo piece you go into, your go-to for either the paralyzation or the GX attack, which is very good. Two copies of Zero GX. He's in it for its ability, Thunderclap Zone. Gives your Pokemon free retreat when they have an energy attached. Electric energy attached. Self-explanatory. Alright. Have ourselves, let's do this. 3 copies of the Denne GX. I upped this to 3 because you need draw power in this deck. And in my testing, I have found a way to make 3 really work for me. Don't get me wrong, in the video that I said before, I said 3 would not work because there was a chance that you could basically draw into like 2 or 3 of them at the same time, or you end up discarding too many cards, you know. But, you know, I have found that 3 has actually been really, really good. And if you know how to use your hand, if you know how to play with what you have in your hand, you know, you could work with 3. So 3 isn't bad for this deck. You know, that's why I added the 3rd one back. One copy of Tapu Koko Prism Star. It's in here for its ability. Dance of the Ancients. Very good for energy acceleration. It's self-explanatory. I don't think I have to explain this card. One copy of Zapdos. It's in here for its Thunderous Assault attack. When it comes from the bench, it does 80 more damage. Not 80 more, but 70 more damage, making his attack 80, which is very good with electro powers. It's not as good as it was before, but, you know, it's still good when you see them and get them out. Four copies of Volkner. Volkner really is your go-to supporter in this deck. Volkner can find you just about anything you want in this deck. It can find you Reset Stamp. It can find you Counter Catcher. It can find you Stadium Navi to help you get your stadium. It can find you Electro Power. It can find you Electromagnetic Radar. Any of your search items. It can find you Pokemon Communication. You know, and it also can get you an energy, which you may need for the turn. It can also help you find Energy Switch. So many great things that Volkner can help you do in this deck. So, I mean, you probably will never see me skimp on Volkners in this deck because it is so useful and so versatile. Three copies of Cynthia. Shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6. Self-explanatory. Two copies of Erica's Hospitality. In my previous video, I only had 1 copy in here, but I upped it to 2 because there are a lot of players and a lot of people who basically fill their bench up with Pokemon. And as far as straight draw goes, this basically gets you the most bang for your buck. When your opponent plays down a lot of Pokemon, you sit there and you can draw basically 6 cards or 5 cards, you know, which is very good. The only time this isn't good is on your first turn. But other than that, you know, after that and after your opponent, you know, gets a field and gets a bench and wants to get set up, you could take advantage of that and draw cards off of it, which is very good. We have ourselves 4 copies of Electro Power. This powers up our electric Pokemon by electric Pokemon's attacks by 30, which is still very good in this deck. I mean, self-explanatory. You power your Pokemon. Full Blitz becomes 180, 210, 240, etc. Choo-Choo's GX attack becomes 280. His Tandem Shock attack becomes 190, 220, things like that. Four copies of Custom Catcher. You play 2, you could bring up one of your opponent's Pokemon and, you know, basically knock it out or put it in the active, strand it up there. This is very good in this deck. This is one of the only decks that can actually search out Custom Catcher, because you can search it out with Volkner. You know, if you have one in your hand and you have Volkner in your hand, you can use Volkner to search out the second one, which is a very, very good play. So, I mean, in bringing up your opponent's Pokemon is very good, you know, so you want to do that. The first ability is not bad either, where you can draw up to 3 cards. It just depends on how many cards you have in your hand and what you want to do. So, alright, 3 copies of Energy Switch. Self-explanatory. Switch one of the energies off one of your Pokemon to another one. Still very good in this deck. You know, helps you set up combos. Can get off Full Blitz. Can help you set up Tag Bolts. It's good for Choo-Choo as well. We have ourselves 3 copies of Switch. Switch basically, it wasn't in the first deck, but I added these because sometimes you would have a Pokemon in the active that doesn't have an electric energy on it, and you can't use Zero Aura's ability. So Switch helps with that. Switch one of your Pokemon. This also helps in the mirror match. When you get paralyzed by Raichu and Raichu, you can switch out your Pokemon and switch into something else. You know, if your opponent custom catches up a Pokemon without an energy on it, you can switch it out, which is very good. So, I added these in there. Two copies of Electromagnetic Radar. I might actually go to a third one and cut a switch, but this is really good for finding all the GX Pokemon in this deck because they're all electric. So, you know, yeah, very good Pokemon search. Probably the best Pokemon search for electric Pokemon right now. But electric Pokemon GXs and EXs. if you are playing in expanded. 2 copies of Cherish Ball. Cherish Ball is just added consistency to this deck. Even though you have electromagnetic radar that can find your GXs in this deck, this is added consistency because this is just fast. If you just need one Pokemon and you don't want to discard cards from your hand, you know, this helps. 2 copies of Pokemon Communication. This will help you find your Zapdos. This will help you find your Tapu Koko Prism Star. You swap out a Pokemon in your hand from one in your deck and you add it. It's very good, self-explanatory. Two copies of Tag Switch. You can basically move 2 energies from one of your tag team Pokemon to another Pokemon, which is very good. You can set up Tag Bolt. You can also set up Choo Choo GX's GX Attack, Lightning Ride GX. You can set that up, which is very good. Honestly, to tell you the truth, I think this is probably the only deck that can actually use Tag Switch like this. I haven't seen another deck that can use Tag Switch as well as this deck. Two copies of Reset Stamp. You know, Reset Stamp is very good. You can basically shuffle your opponent's hand into the deck and make them draw cards equal to the number of prizes they have. This is basically good for mid to late game when they have like 4 prizes, 3 or 2 prizes. You make them shuffle their hand back in. Oh, I'll Reset Stamp you to 2. I'll Reset Stamp you to 1. If you still have a hand after that, boom, I'll hit you with another one. I mean, it's just very good. 1 copy of Stadium Nav. I went down on this. For the most part, I mean, with this deck, I'll end up drawing out basically most of the cards that I need. Stadium Nav is just in here just as a more of a consistency thing. I mean, also at 1, it's not bad because I can also search it out with Volkner. So, you know, if I need it early on in the game, I can be like, okay, Volkner, go get me Stadium Navi. Flip 2 coins, one of them's heads, I'll go get the stadium. You know, simple as that. Two copies of Lysander's Labs. In my earlier video, I said that Lysander's Labs was not good for this deck, you know, and I said it was, you know, I said that I really could not find a reason to keep Lysander's Labs in the deck. Well, to tell you the truth, in my testing, I did find a reason to keep Lysander's Labs in this deck. And it is actually a very good stadium for this deck. Lysander's Labs basically stops, helps you to stop Shedinja. It helps you to stop spell tags from working. It also stops a skateboard from working on Jirachis as well. So Lysander's Labs really puts in the work in this deck. It also stops the Fairy Charms on Gardevoir and Sylveon from working. So yeah, Lysander Labs really puts in work in this deck, you know. So yeah. I'm honestly, like, I am really glad I kept it in here. And in my testing, it really has helped out a lot. One copy of Thunder Mountain Prism Star. I mean, you can only play 1. But it lowers your electric attacks, or it makes it 1 lightning less. So if your attack was 3 lightnings, it's now 2 lightnings. Or if it was 2 lightnings and a colorless, it's now 1 lightning and a colorless. So this is very good and helps speed up the deck. You can attack for full blitz a turn earlier. You can go for tag bolt, you know, with 5 energies instead of 6. It makes Lightning Ride GX, that attack, it makes the cost 4 instead of 5. So which is very good. Then we have ourselves 12 lightning energy. Self-explanatory. Alright. Yeah. This deck against Bloun's GX, I would say this deck is probably 50-50 against Bloun's GX. For the simple fact that Bloun's GX, you know, it can basically KO Pikarom. If they could play Mew and stop us from tag bolting them, then we can't bypass the Beast Ring turn. But if we can bypass the Beast Ring turn, we definitely have the advantage in that game. But other than that, I mean, even without bypassing the Beast Ring turn, this deck still has a good chance of winning against Bloun's. You know. Against Giratina Malamar, I would say it depends. It depends on how the game goes and how the list goes. I would say it's more like 60-40, maybe in their favor, because of them damaging Pikarom and then bringing it up and knocking it out. Because they have a little bit of snipe damage. And with Giratina Garchomp's attack being able to do 240 damage, which is very good against Pikarom. You know, but Pikarom still has a great chance of winning that matchup. You still can use Tag Bolt. You still can use Full Blitz. You still can go Lightning Ride GX against them, which is very good. Still say they have a great shot against Giratina Garchomp. Against Reshizard, this can still do well against Reshizard as well. Lightning Ride GX can do well against Reshizard. Even though Green's Reshizard now takes in a Shrine of Punishment to basically deal with Pikarom, you know, I still think Pikarom has an advantage of going faster and getting set up and getting knockouts that way. Even though it does not have Tapu Koko GX like it used to, I think it still has a great advantage against Reshizard. Let's see. Against Mew Mew, I think Pikarom has the advantage against Mew Mew. It's just, you know, it's fast. It's really good. With Volkner, you have a way to get to Custom Catcher. So even if they use Mew Mew to copy Altaria, we can basically Custom Catcher up something else and knock it out. You know, still got Tag Bolt that we could use that get out if they don't play Mew, which is very good. So I think this has a great shot against Mew Mew. Let's see, against Dark Box, I think this has a great chance against Dark Box. Naganadel is kind of slow with that. This sets up pretty fast, you know. But yeah, This deck is still one of the best decks for the Worlds format. It's a safe play. If you want to play safe, you know, there are definitely, you know, other builds out there, of other decks out there that are very good, that will be very good in the Worlds format. Some of them are a lot harder to use than others, but if you want a safe play, go with Pikarom. Alright. Well, guys, that is it. That's the video. If you like it, like, comment, subscribe. And as always, take care of yourself and each other. Thank you.